Blackpool v QPR tactical preview. A quick rise or a ruthless drop. This weekend we turn our attention to Bloomfield Road, where QPR will be looking to make it 2 wins on the bounce. Benjamin Bloom has all you need to know, with odds from Betfair throughout. Setting the scene, a quick rise or a ruthless drop. If I'd been writing this preview on Tuesday prior to the midweek round of championship games, I'd have been talking about 6th-placed Blackpool versus 8th-placed QPR. If a week is a long time in politics, then 2 days is a long time in the championship, as it was all change in midweek, with QPR winning at Cardiff and quickly rising to 5th, with Blackpool's home defeat to Stoke dropping them ruthlessly down to 10th. I use the word ruthlessly as Blackpool had been on a tremendous run prior to that slip-up against Stoke, and frankly they still are, with 7 wins in their last 11 games, by far the most impressive form of any of the teams promoted from League One last season. The bar is high in that regard, with Barnsley finishing in the playoffs last season within 2 years of coming up from League One, and Sheffield United's magnificent rise under Chris Wilder, only lasting 2 championship seasons before they were up in the Premier League. I'd started to call QPR flaky in recent weeks, but a Wednesday night away win and clean sheet at Cardiff this midweek might have me revising my opinion. Rangers are clearly a good side with some good players and an experienced championship manager, however legitimate questions about throwing away leads, late goals conceded, and a poor defensive record can reasonably be asked. A lot was expected of QPR in the dark horses category prior to this season, and now a lot is expected of Blackpool after an excellent start. The championship is as tight as ever, and Saturday's game could provide another quick rise or ruthless drop. A Blackpool bounce back? Blackpool to win 9/5, Betfair, 1 to watch Keshi Anderson. Blackpool, if Keshi Anderson doesn't set foot on a championship pitch again this season, he'll still likely be responsible for the most brilliant assist of 2021-22. In the game at home to Barnsley at the end of September, Anderson found himself closely marked inside a triangle of defenders and produced an impossible-looking backheel to send Shane Lavery through to score the match-winning goal. The Anderson-Lavery partnership combined again for the opening goal against Blackburn, and following his striking colleague's injury, the left winger has weighed in with a couple of important goals too. Anderson opened the scoring in the Big West Lancs derby against Preston, and then challenged his own gifable moment against Barnsley with a sumptuous winner against Sheffield United. The former Crystal Palace and Swindon man pulled down a long ball out of the air, coolly turned inside, and bent a beauty into the far corner with his left foot. The brilliant Blackpool run from League One straight into the top half of the championship has many protagonists. Manager Neil Critchley is highly rated, Jerry Yates led the line and banged in the goals last season, but someone like Anderson is a hugely valuable commodity. In an old-school looking 4-4-2 shape, it's easy for a wide player to get lost in the shuffle, but Anderson seems to come alive in important moments, and when we look back through his contributions, they've all been pretty decisive. With QPR an open and attacking opponent, Critchley and Blackpool will hope Keshi Anderson can take advantage of any space he's likely to get and make another decisive contribution. Anderson to repeat his Derby Day opener? Keshi Anderson first goalscorer 17 halves, Betfair, 1 to watch Andre Dazel, QPR. The curious case of Andre Dazel is a tale that's now been playing out for the past 5 years. A 16-year-old Dazel scored on his debut for Ipswich at Sheffield Wednesday back in 2016. With the story picked up nationally and the hype around the youngster beginning. Hype around Dazel in Ipswich was always going to happen. His father Jason was a homegrown star at Portman Road who also scored on his debut as a teenager back in 1984. The narrative was too much for the media to ignore, and, with Ipswich beginning to stagnate in the championship under Mick McCarthy, the town fans pinned their hopes on the youngster. Just never happened for Andre Dazel at his hometown club, despite the fact he was clearly a classy-looking player, a left-footed central midfielder, good on the ball with a lovely passing range. Whilst Portman Road under Marcus Evans' ownership was never the most helpful setting for a player to thrive, Dazel was horribly unlucky to miss the entirety of the 2017-18 after injuring his knee in the first half of the first game of that season. Roll on to 2021, and the new ownership at Ipswich swept the decks completely clear and Dazel ended his frustrating association with his hometown club and signed for QPR. The transfer represented somewhat of a gamble for Rangers. Anyone who watches Dazel for a few minutes can see a silky operator with the ball, but fairly or not linked with a sense of underachievement. Under Mark Warburton, Dazel is now starting championship games. His laser-like assist for Andre Gray's goal to beat Cardiff this midweek is perhaps the start of him becoming the player many think he can Dozzell to repeat his career debut heroics? Andre Dozzell last goalscorer 16-1, Betfair, key battle, Richard Keogh v Lyndon Dykes. The idea that, in 2021 a playoff Chasing Championship side would be reliant on the presence and defense of veteran centre-back Richard Keogh would have been scoffed at not so long ago. Keogh is somewhat of a championship legend with 450 appearances in the division, but haunted by his mistake in the playoff final leading to Bobby Zamora's winning goal for QPR and the unfortunate event in 2019 that many thought would have ended his career. It's been a pretty impressive renaissance for Keogh, who dropped to League One with MK Dons for the first half of the 2021 season and then returned to his spiritual home in the Championship with Huddersfield. Newly promoted Blackpool are the latest side to utilise Keogh's vast experience, and the Tangerines' excellent run into the playoff spots came with the veteran starting 15 of their first 16 games. This midweek Blackpool lost at home to Stoke, perhaps tellingly. Keogh went off injured after 16 minutes. On Keogh's injury, Blackpool boss Neil Critchley said Richard just felt his calf a little bit. Hopefully, with him coming straight off, it won't be too serious. Critchley will be hoping Keogh can come through at the weekend to face QPR and their Scotland international striker Lyndon Dykes. Dykes is a regular for QPR up top. Nobody has scored more goals for Rangers this season, and nobody has won more aerials per 90 than the physically imposing forward. Whilst QPR boast plenty of technical players, the challenge of dealing with Dykes will surely be easier with than without Keogh. Dykes to prevail? Dykes to score and QPR to win. Wincast at 10.07, Betfair, Bet Builder treble over 2.5 goals, QPR and draw, double chance, half-time, draw at 8.19, Betfair, odds correct at the time of publication. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly. Visit begambleaware.org.